Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtuprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. Today we're starting new chapter, chapter 13, King Indra, afflicted by sinful reaction. Text number 1 onwards. Shri Shukuvacha Vritre Hate Trayo Loka Vina Shakrena Bhurida Sapala Hi Abhavan Sadyo Vijvara Nirvrittendriyaha. So in the previous chapter we saw how Indra killed Vritrasura and the Vajra, thunderbolt of Indra, took 1 year to go around the neck of Vritrasura and kill him and cut off his neck. So text 13 starts with, Shri Shukdev Goswami said, O King Parikshit, who were so charitably disposed when Vritrasura was killed, all the presiding deities and everyone else in the 3 planetary systems was immediately pleased and free from trouble. Everyone, that is, except Indra. So Indra was not happy, but everybody else was happy and okay, this Asura is killed. And basically they left home. They went back to their homes. Devarshi Pitri Bhutani Daitya Deva Nuga Swayam Prati Jagmu Swadhishnayani Brahmeshendriya Dayastataha. Thereafter, the demigods, the great saintly persons, the inhabitants of Pitriloka and Bhutaloka, the demons, the followers of the demigods, and also Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the demigods subordinate to Indra, all returned to their respective homes. While departing, however, no one spoke to Indra. In this connection, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the other demigods returned to their respective abodes, but Indra did not, for he was disturbed at having killed Vritrasura, who was actually a Brahman. After killing Vritrasura, Indra went to the Manas Sarovar lake to become free from sinful reactions. When he left the lake, he performed an Ashwamedh Yajna and then returned to his own abode. So he was disturbed because he had killed a Vaishnava, a Brahman, a devotee of the Lord. So in this story so far, Indra had done so many things and he repented later on. First, he disrespected his Guru Brihaspati. Then he had to kill Vishwarupa, who was again a Brahman, a spiritual master, and then he had to kill Vritrasura, who was a devotee. So he was repenting for that, and then he went to this Manas Sarovar lake to become free from sinful reactions, and he performed an Ashwamedh Yajna and then returned to his own abode. Text 3. Shri Raju Vacha Indrasya Nirvriter Hetum Shrotum Echami Bhomune Yenasan Sukhino Deva Harera Dukkham Kuto Bhavat. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami, O great sage, what was the reason for Indra's unhappiness? I wish to hear about this. When he killed Vritrasura, all the demigods were extremely happy. Why then was Indra himself unhappy? This, of course, is a very intelligent question. When a demon is killed, certainly all the demigods are happy. In this case, however, when all the demigods were happy, because of Vritrasura's having been killed, Indra was unhappy. Why? It may be suggested that Indra was unhappy because he knew that he had killed a great devotee and Brahman. Vritrasura outwardly appeared to be a demon, but inwardly he was a great devotee and therefore was a great Brahman. So that's why Indra was unhappy. Herein it is clearly indicated that a person who's not at all demoniac, such as Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, may outwardly be a demon or be born in a family of demons. Therefore, in terms of real culture, one should not be considered a demigod or demon simply according to birth. In his dealings while fighting with Indra, Vritrasura proved himself a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Furthermore, as soon as he finished fighting with Indra and was apparently killed, Vritrasura was transferred to Vaikuntha Loka to become an associate of Sankarsana. Indra knew this, and therefore he was morose at having killed such a demon who was actually a Vaishnava or a Brahman. So this is quality of Indra. That's why he is dear to the Lord. He right away understands he has made a mistake and he repents for it. Or sometimes it can be also because Indra is also not an ordinary person. He is a leader of all the demigods. So cannot be an ordinary person. So maybe Krishna himself puts him in these kind of situations to show us some lessons, for us to learn some lessons. But nevertheless, demigods, as Prabhupada said earlier, demigods are not pure devotees; they're materialistic devotees. So they have some desires, material desires to be fulfilled. But regardless, Indra is in such a great position, and not an ordinary person can be at that position. So it looks like Krishna himself puts him in that situation, and sometimes maybe it's Indra's desires also. It could be a combination. Prabhupada further says, a Vaishnava is already a Brahman, although a Brahman may not be a Vaishnava. Padma Puran says, one may be a Brahman in terms of his culture and family, and may be expert in Vedic knowledge, mantra, tantra, visharada. But if he is not a Vaishnava, he cannot be a Guru. This means that an expert Brahman may not be a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is already a Brahman. A millionaire may very easily possess hundreds and thousands of dollars, but a person with hundreds and thousands of dollars, it is not necessarily a millionaire. Vritrasura was a perfect Vaishnava, and therefore he was also a Brahman. So Indra was really unhappy about killing the Vaishnava. Shri Shukuvacha Vritra Vikrama Sambigna Sarve Deva Saharshibhi Tadvadhayartha Yannidram Nachad Bhito Brihad Vadhat. Shri Shukdev Goswami answered, when all the great sages and demigods were disturbed by the extraordinary power of Vritrasura, they had assembled to ask Indra to kill him. Indra, however, being afraid of killing a Brahman, declined the request. So it was in the beginning. Indra vacha stri bhudrum jalareno vishwarupa vadhodbhavam vibhakta manu grihad bhir vritra hatyam kva marjamiham. King Indra replied, when I killed Vishwarupa, I received extensive sinful reactions, but I was favored by the women, land, trees, and water because they took the sinful reactions from Indra in return for some benedictions. And Indra says, and therefore I was able to divide the sin among them. But now if I kill Vritrasura, another Brahman, how shall I free myself from the sinful reactions? So Vritrasura, now he was son of Tvashta and brother of Vishwarupa. So already he was a Brahman. So Indra knew that, but he didn't know he was such a great devotee at the same time. Shri Shukuvacha Rishyastad Upakarnya Mahendram Idam Abruvan Yaji Shyama Bhadram Te Hayamedhin Masman. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, hearing this, the great sages replied to King Indra, O King of heaven, all good fortune unto you. Do not fear. We shall perform an Ashwamedha sacrifice to release you from any sin you may accrue by killing the Brahman. Hayamedhen Purusham Param Atmanam Ishwaram Ishwa Narayanam Devam Mokshase Api Jagatvadha. The rishis continued, O King Indra, by performing an Ashwamedha sacrifice and thereby pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, Lord Narayan, the Supreme Controller, one can be relieved even of the sinful reaction for killing the entire world, not to speak of killing a demon like Vritrasura. So they told him, okay, there is a way that you can get rid of these sinful reactions by performing an Ashwamedha sacrifice and thereby pleasing the Supreme Personality of God. So the purpose behind the sacrifice was to please the Lord, not for getting some more material benefits. Next 8-9. Brahma Pitriha Godhano Matriha Charya Hagava Shwada Pulkasako Vapi Shuddherang Yasya Kirtanam Tam Ashwamedhena Mahamakena Shraddhanvito Asmabhir Anushthiten Atvapi Sambram Characharam Tvam Na Lipyase Kim Khal Nigrahena. One who has killed a Brahman, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or spiritual master can be immediately freed from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan. Other sinful persons, such as dog eaters and chandals, who are less than Shudras, can also be freed in this way. But you are a devotee, and we shall help you by performing the great horse sacrifice. If you please Lord Narayan in that way, why should you be afraid? You will be free even if you kill the entire universe, including the Brahmins, not to speak of killing a disturbing demon like Vritrasura. So any sin can be overcome by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan. That's what the rishis said. It is said in Brihad Vishnu Puran, Namno hi yavati shakti. Also in the Prem Vivarth by Jagdanand Pandit, it is said, Ek Krishna Nama papir yat papakshay, bahu janme sei papi karite naray. This means that by once chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can be freed from the reactions of more sins that he can even imagine performing. Forget about performing. Just imagine. If he even imagines, he can be freed from the reactions by chanting even once holy name of the Lord. That's how powerful chanting is. The holy name is so spiritually potent that simply by chanting the holy name, one can be freed from the reactions to all sinful activities. What then is to be said of those who chant the holy name regularly or worship the deity regularly? For such purified devotees, freedom from sinful reactions is certainly assured. This does not mean, however, that one should intentionally commit sinful acts and think himself free from the reactions because he is chanting the holy name. Such a mentality is a most abominable offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. Namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi. The Lord's holy name certainly has a potency to neutralize all sinful activities. But if one repeatedly and intentionally commits sins while chanting the holy name, he is most condemned. So two different things. Sins committed accidentally, so by chanting even once, those sins can be counteracted. But if we commit sins thinking that by chanting I'll neutralize all the sinful reactions, then it becomes an offense. That becomes a problem. These verses name the performance of various sinful deeds. In the Manu Samhita, the following names are given. A son begotten by a Brahman and born from the womb of a Shudra mother is called a Parashav or Nishad, a hunter accustomed to stealing. A son begotten by Nishad in the womb of a Shudra mother woman is called a Pukas. Pukas. A child begotten by a Kshatriya in the womb of a daughter of a Shudra is called an Ugra. A child begotten by a Shudra in the womb of a daughter of a Kshatriya is called Kshatta. A child begotten by a Kshatriya in the womb of lower class women is called a Swat or a dog eater. All such offsprings are considered extremely sinful, but the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so strong that all of them can be purified simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So different names are given in Manu Samhita to different children born in different by different castes, not caste by birth, caste by karma and guna. Now in this Kali Yuga, everybody is Shudra or less than a Shudra. So Shudra man and Shudra woman, when they combine, they'll only have Shudra children. But the holy name of the Lord is so strong, so powerful, that all of them can be purified. And this is what Prabhupada says. The Hare Krishna movement offers everyone a chance to be purified, regardless of birth or family. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kirat, Huns, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhir, Shumba, Yavan, members of the Khas races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of devotees of the Lord, for He is a supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto Him. Even such sinful persons can certainly all be purified if they chant the holy name of the Lord under the directions of a pure devotee. So that's all is required, because ultimately soul is pure. Soul is not Brahman or Kshatriya or Kirat or Hun or Andhra or whatever. These are all body designations. Soul is completely pure. And when we chant, or anybody chants, then it's a spiritual vibration, transcendental vibration. And it brings forth the spiritual potency of the soul, which is basically covered over, right? So anybody or everybody can become purified by chanting. Herein the sages encourage King Indra to kill Vritrasura, even at the risk of Brahmahatya, the killing of a Brahman, and they guarantee to release him from sinful reactions by performing an Ashwamedh Yajna. Such purposefully devised atonement, however, cannot relieve the performer of sinful acts. This will be seen from the following verse. So even the sages, they were not correct. Text 10. Shri Shukuvacha Evam Sanchodito Viprayar Marutuvan Andripum Tripum Brahmatya Hate Tasmin Nasasad Vrishakapim. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, encouraged by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vritrasura. And when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahman, Brahmatya, certainly took shelter of Indra. After killing Vritrasura, Indra could not surpass the Brahmatya, the sinful reactions for killing a Brahman. Formerly, he had killed one Brahman, Vishwarupa, out of circumstantial anger. But this time, following the advice of the sages, he killed another Brahman purposely. Therefore, the sinful reaction was greater than before. Indra could not be relieved from the reaction simply by performing sacrifices for atonement. He had to undergo a severe series of sinful reactions. And when he was freed by such suffering, the Brahmins allowed him to perform the horse sacrifice. The planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord or undergoing prayashchita atonement cannot give relief to anyone, even to Indra or Nahusha. Nahusha was officiating for Indra, while Indra, absent from heaven, was going here and there to gain release from his sinful reactions. So still, Indra knew his killing a Brahman is very sinful, but as a service, he still killed Vritrasura. Tayendra smahat sahat tapam nirvrittir nam uma vishat himandam vachyatam praptam sukhyantyapi no gunaha. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritrasura and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritrasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in his grief. One cannot be happy by committing sinful acts, even if one is endowed with material opulence. Indra found this to be true. People began to blaspheme him, saying, "This person has killed a Brahman for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness." Therefore, in spite of being king of heaven and enjoying material opulence, Indra was always unhappy because of the accusations of the populace. So another thing to note here, okay, people began to blaspheme him. Now, these people are obviously not earthly people. We don't even know what all the demigods are doing. So they were the denizens of the heavenly planets. So if Indra had not killed Vritrasura, the same people would have said, okay, so you're afraid of the sinful reactions, that's why you're running away from your duty of protecting the demigods and protecting the heavenly planets and not killing Vritrasura. What kind of coward you are? And now since he killed him, they're saying this person has killed a Brahman for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness. What kind of person he is? The thing is, in the material world, we cannot make everybody happy all the time. No way. Not going to happen. So all we can do is just chant our rounds properly, chant the holy name of Krishna, and perform devotion service. And that's it. Cannot make everybody happy. Tam dadarshanu dhavantim chandali eva rupini jarya vepa manangi yakshma grastam srikpatam vikirya palitan kesham tishteti bhashinim meena gandhya sugandhena kurvatim margadushanam. Indra saw personified sinful reaction chasing him, appearing like a Chandal woman, a woman of the lowest class. She seemed very old and all the limbs of her body trembled. Because she was afflicted with tuberculosis, her body and garments were covered with blood. Breathing an unbearable fishy odor that polluted the entire street, she called to Indra, "Wait, wait." When a person is afflicted with tuberculosis, he often vomits blood, which makes his garments bloody. So this is a personified sinful reaction chasing him. Nabho gato disha sarva sahasraksha vishampate pragu dichim disham turnam pravishto naripamanasam. O King Indra first fled to the sky, but there also he saw the women of personified sin chasing him. This witch followed him wherever he went. At last, he very quickly went to the northeast and entered a Manas Sarovar lake. So what did he do there? So avasat pushkar nalatantum nal labdha bhogo yad ihagni dutaha varshani sahasra malakshito antaha sanchintayan brahmavadad vimoksham. Always thinking of how he could be relieved from the sinful reaction for killing a Brahman, King Indra, invisible to everyone, lived in the lake for 1,000 years. And where did he live? In the subtle fibers of the stem of a lotus. For 1,000 years, he lived where? In the subtle fibers of the stem of a lotus in the Manas Sarovar lake. The fire god used to bring him a share of all yagyas, but because the fire god was afraid to enter the water, Indra was practically starved. For 1,000 years, he suffered. Tavat trinakam nahusha shashasa vidya tapo yoga balanubhava sa sampadashwarya madanta buddhir nitas tirashcham gatim indra patnya. As long as King Indra lived in the water, wrapped in the stem of the lotus, Nahusha was equipped with the ability to rule the heavenly kingdom due to his knowledge, austerity, and mystic power. Nahusha, now this is a problem in the material world. Once we get something, we get attached to it. Nahusha, however, blinded and maddened by power and opulence, made undesirable proposals to Indra's wife with a desire to enjoy her. Thus, Nahusha was cursed by a Brahmin and later became a snake. So, even heavenly planets, whether we are demigods or whether we're the citizens of heaven, still it's a problem everywhere. We just want to be the controllers, proprietors, and enjoyers of everything in the material world. Whatever is in our possession and whatever is not. We just want to enjoy. We just want to control. Nahusha was given this power as long as Indra didn't come back. But now he got so attached. What did he do? He made proposals to Indra's wife, Shachi Devi, with the desire to enjoy her. That's why Prabhupada again and again and again and again stressed on this point. We should have a mood of service, not a mood of enjoying. Whatever position we have, whatever power or opulence we have, the mood should be of service, 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 service. I'm not the controller, I'm not the proprietor, I'm not the enjoyer. I'm just a servant, and servant of servant of servant of servant of Krishna. Even in that position, we can develop a desire that I am the controller. And then the testing starts. It's difficult. I know, the material world. Everybody wants to be the boss of the boss. And here, Prabhupada or scriptures tell us you become das of the das. Two different things. So even Nahusha, Indra, look at all the demigods. How much they go through just trying to be the controllers. Tato gato brahma giropahuta ritam bhar dhyana nivaritaka papastu digdevataya hatojas tam nabhya bhudvitam vishnu patnya. Indra's sins were diminished by the influence of Rudra, the demigod of all directions, because Indra was protected by the goddess of fortune, Lord Vishnu's wife, who resides in the lotus clusters of Manas Sarovar lake. Indra's sins could not affect him. Indra was ultimately relieved of all the reactions of his sinful deeds by strictly worshipping Lord Vishnu. Then he was called back to the heavenly planets by the Brahmins and reinstated in his position. So ultimately, it's the Lord who's going to forgive the reactions. So Indra, while staying in the lotus clusters of Manasarovar lake, he got He got mercy of Lakshmi ji, and then he got mercy of Lord Vishnu also. Tam cha brahmarsheo abhetya hayamedhena bharat yatavad dikshyan chakruhu purusharadhanena ham. O king, when Lord Indra reached the heavenly planets, the saintly Brahmins approached him and properly initiated him into a horse sacrifice, Ashwamedh Yagya, meant to please the Supreme Lord. Atijyamane purushe sarvadeva mayatmani ashwamedhe mahendrena vitate brahmavadibi sarvaitvashtra vado bhuyanapi papachayo nripa nitastenev shunyaya nihar eva bhanuna. The horse sacrifice performed by the saintly Brahmins relieved Indra of the reactions to all his sins because he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that sacrifice. O king, although he had committed a gravely sinful act, it was nullified at once by that sacrifice, just as fog is vanquished by the brilliant sunrise. So as soon as he did the sacrifice, his sinful reactions were nullified. Savaji medena yathoditena vitaya manena marichi mishra ishtavadhi yagyam purusham puranam indro mahanas vidhuta papaha. King Indra was favored by Marichi and other great sages. They performed the sacrifice just according to the rules and regulations, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, the original person. Thus Indra regained his exalted position and was again honored by everyone. Idam mahakyanam ashesha papamanam prakshalanam tirthapadanu kirtanam bhakti uchrayam bhakta jananu baranam mahendra moksham vijayam matutvatah patheyurakyanam idam sada buddha shanvantyo atho parvani parvanindriyam dhanyam yashasyam nikhila gamochanam ripunjayam swasti ayanam tathayusham. In this very great narrative, there is a glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. There are statements about the exaltedness of devotion service. There are descriptions of devotees like Indra and Vritrasura. And there are statements about King Indra's release from sinful life and about his victory in fighting the demons. By understanding this incident, one is relieved of all sinful reactions. Therefore, the learned are always advised to read this narration. If one does so, one will become expert in the activities of the senses. His opulence will increase and his reputation will become widespread. One will also be relieved of all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies and the duration of his life will increase. Because this narration is auspicious in all respects, learned scholars regularly hear and repeat it on every festival day. Wow. So Shruti Phal is there, beautiful Shruti Phal. Just by listening, just by reading this incident, one can be relieved of all sinful reactions, becomes expert in the activities of senses, his opulence will increase, his reputation will become widespread. So all we have to do is just read this on every festival day, or basically every day we'll read it. It is a festival anyway. So this is the beauty of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So we still have time, so we can start chapter 14. Chapter 14, King Chitraketu's lamentation. Now Vritrasura, who was in previous life, was Chitraketu, Maharaj Chitraketu. Shri Parikshit Uvacha, Rajastama Swabhavasya Brahman Vritrasya Papmanaha Narayane Bhagavati Katham Masi Dridamatihi. King Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami, O learned Brahman, demons are generally sinful, being obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. How then could Vritrasura have attained such exalted love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan? In this material world, everyone is obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. However, unless one conquers these modes and comes to the platform of goodness, there is no chance of once becoming a pure devotee. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna himself. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Since Vritrasura was among the demons, Maharaj Parikshit wondered how it was possible for him to have become such an exalted devotee. Because devotional service doesn't just come, one has to act very piously in previous lives and in this life. And then one gets a chance to do the service with determination. So Maharaj Parikshit was curious. What was this? What were the activities of Vritrasura? What did he do? Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Chamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayenopajayate. Demigods situated in the mode of goodness and great saints, cleansed of the dirt of material enjoyment, hardly ever render no devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda. Therefore, how could Vritrasura have become such a great devotee? So devotional service is not awarded so easily. It's very, very rare, very difficult. Rajobi samsankyata parthivyarihi jantvaha tesham ye kechane hante shreyo ve manujadaya. In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Among these living entities, very few are human beings. And among them, few are interested in following religious principles. And that is true. How many human beings are there compared to all the living entities? Even in the room that you're sitting in right now, there's only one human being, maybe two, I don't know how many are there. But how many living entities are there in that room? Unlimited. I'm sure coronavirus is also there. Bacteria are there. And other insects are there. Mosquitoes are there. Ants are there. So very few are human beings. And among them, few are interested in following religious principles. Prayo mumukshu vastesham kechana dvijottama mumukshanam sahasreshu kashin macheta siddhati. O best of the Brahmins, Shukdev Goswami, out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation. Giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. And among many thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand the true meaning of liberation is very rare. There are four classes of men, namely karmis, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. This statement pertains especially to karmis and jnanis. A karmi tries to be happy within this material world by changing from one body to another. His objective is bodily comfort, either in this planet or in the other. When such a person becomes a jnani, however, he aspires for liberation from material bondage. Among many such persons who aspire for liberation, one may actually be liberated during his life. Such a person gives up his attachment for society, friendship, love, country, family, wife, and children. Among many such persons who are in the vanaprastha stage, one may understand the value of becoming a sannyasi, completely accepting the renounced order of life. So see how rarer and rarer it is becoming. And furthermore, Parikshit Maharaj is saying, Mukta nam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatma koteshvapi mahamune. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in the knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Krishna or Narayana. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. So you all are very, very rare people. Of course, we don't go outside and tell everybody, see, I'm so rare to find and you don't respect me. That's not fair. But according to Bhagavatam, anybody who comes to the process, to the path of devotional service of Krishna, is very rare. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following purport to this verse. Simply desiring mukti or liberation is insufficient. One must become factually liberated. When one understands the futility of the materialistic way of life, one becomes advanced in knowledge. And therefore, he situates himself in the one-pressed order, unattached to family, wife, and children. One should then further progress to the platform of sannyas, the actual renounced order, never to fall again and be afflicted by materialistic life. Even though one desires to be liberated, this does not mean he's liberated. Only rarely is someone liberated. Indeed, although many men take sannyas to become liberated because of their imperfections, they again become attached to women, material activities, social welfare work, and so on. So sannyas means complete detachment. Complete. Sannyas actually means socially dead. That person has to be fully engaged in either meditation or serving the Lord. But some desires are there, and as per Prabhupada, they again become attached to women, material activities, social welfare work, and so on. Jnanis, yogis, karmis, devoid of devotional service are called offenders. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavadi, Krishna Aparadi. One who thinks that everything is Maya, instead of thinking that everything is Krishna, is called an aparadhi or offender. Although the Mayavadis, impersonalists, are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, they may nonetheless be counted among the siddhas, those who have realized the self. They may be considered nearer to spiritual perfection because at least they have realized what spiritual life is. If such a person becomes Narayana Parayana, a devotee of Lord Narayana, he is better than a Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated or perfect. This requires higher intelligence. So Narayana Parayan, this is the shlok is. Narayana Mukta Nam Api Siddha Nam Narayana Parayana. Among many who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Krishna. It's a long purport because whenever something like this comes, Prabhupada really wants to make sure we understand everything. Further, he says, there are two kinds of jnanis. One is inclined to devotion service and the other to impersonal realization. Impersonalists generally undergo great endeavor for no tangible benefit, and therefore it is said that they are husking paddy that has no grain. The other class of jnanis, whose jnana is mixed with bhakti, are also of two kinds. Those who are devoted to the so-called false form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those who understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Satchidananda Vigraha, the actual spiritual form. So those who are devoted to the so-called false form, so they are the Mayavadis. The Mayavadi devotees worship Narayana or Vishnu with the idea that Vishnu has accepted the form of Maya and that the ultimate truth is actually impersonal. Pure devotee, however, never thinks that Lord Vishnu has accepted a body of Maya. Instead, he knows perfectly well that the original absolute truth is the Supreme Person. Such a devotee is actually situated in knowledge. He never merges in Brahman effulgence. So that is a real knowledge, understanding the deity form or Vigraha form of the Lord is not made of Maya. It is the Lord Himself. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, O Lord, the intelligence of those who think themselves liberated but who have no devotion is impure. Even though they rise to the highest point of liberation by dint of severe penances and austerities, they are sure to fall down again into material existence. For they do not take shelter at your lotus feet. Evidence of this same point is also given in Bhagavad Gita 9:11. So why the Mayavadis fall down? Because they don't take shelter. Even if they've gone all the way to Brahm Jyoti, but from that point also they fall down. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. When rascals or mudas see that Krishna acts exactly like a human being, they deride the transcendental form of the Lord because they do not know the Param Bhava, His transcendental form and activities. Such persons are further described in Bhagavad Gita as follows: Mogasha, Moga Karma. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and the culture of knowledge are all defeated. Such persons do not know that Krishna's body is not material. There is no distinction between Krishna's body and his soul, but because less intelligent men see Krishna as a human being, they deride him. They cannot imagine how a person like Krishna could be the origin of everything. Such persons are described as moghasha, baffled in their hopes. Whatever they desire for the future will be baffled, even if they apparently engage in devotion service. They are described as moghasha because they ultimately desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence. And this is what Mayavadis do. They also many times engage in devotion service or deity worship or chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But the ultimate aim is to merge or become one with God, or become God. This is all Mayavadi philosophies. Those who aspire to be elevated to the heavenly planets by devotional service will also be frustrated because this is not the result of devotional service. Now the karmis, they want to go to heaven, enjoy, but also they have to come back. However, they are also given a chance to engage in devotional service and be purified. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So somehow or other, we have been given this chance, this lifetime or previous some lifetime somewhere. We also must be on the same path, either karmis or jnani or yogi, or just loitering in the material world. And somehow somebody gave us a chance. Unless the dirt within the core of one's heart is cleansed away, one cannot become a pure devotee. Therefore, the word Sudurlabha, very rarely found, is used in this verse. Not only among hundreds and thousands, but among millions of perfectly liberated souls, a pure devotee is hardly ever found. Therefore, the words Kotish Api Mahamuni are used here. Srila Madhvacharya gives the following quotations from the Tantra Bhagavad. There are 90 million demigods and 70 million sages who are all called Narayana, devotees of Lord Narayana. Among them, only a few are called Narayana Parayana. The difference between Siddhas and Narayana Parayana is that direct devotees are called Narayan Parayanans, whereas those who perform various types of mystic yoga are called Siddhas. So it's very, very rare to find a pure devotee, Narayan Parayana. So by mercy of Prabhupada and his followers, somehow or other, they've been given this opportunity. And then the point is we should just make best use of this opportunity. Yes, many obstacles are there, many hardships are there, many things will be there. But we just got to understand the opportunity, the golden opportunity that is given by Srila Prabhupada to all of us. Just hang on to devotional service, hang on to chanting of the holy names, hang on to listening to reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, doing services to the deities, and continue, carry on, whichever way we can. Just do not give up. And like every end of every chapter, we hear the Shrutifal, and they're beautiful Shrutifals. They're really amazing. Just by hearing, reading these pastimes, we receive so many benefits, so many benedictions, so many blessings. What else we want in this dark age of Kali Yuga? Nothing. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Krishna.
This is Dr. Panambal obeisances. Thank you so much for the class, Prabhuji. There are so many points to actually introspect. Just for my understanding, I wanted to understand, since you mentioned about Brahman Jyoti, that even if somebody endeavors to reach to that level of Brahma Jyoti, but still there's a high chance of falling down. So I just wanted to understand, when you talk about falling down, does that mean that again coming back to the birth and death cycle?
Yeah, from Brahm Jyoti, he falls back into the material world. But the point is, in the material world, it doesn't fall on the earth, higher planets, because he has already made so much of progress. So he gets a chance to go further up from higher planets, not heavenly, but higher, like Siddhalok or those Brahmalok.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, like this absolute truth is like, as we have studied, that realized in three different features like Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So, this Brahma Jyoti is the same as like Brahman, or?
Yeah, that is Brahman or Brahm Jyoti.
Okay, that is same.
Yeah.
So that is the different manifestation of Lord Krishna itself. So even if somebody is reaching to the level of Brahman, so there is no chance for the sadhaka to reach to the level of, go back to the Godhead. Again, there is a chance to coming back itself, even if somebody is going to the level of Brahman. That's what you say, right?
Yeah, because see, again, devotional service is only given and nurtured in the association of devotees.
Yes, Prabhuji.
In Brahm Jyoti, there are no devotees. So where is the nurturing?
Right.
That's the problem.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Brahm Jyoti, we cannot have chanting, kirtan, or association, deity worship, nothing. We cannot have anything.
So when we talk about impersonalism or like Mayavadi and Nirvisheshwadi, is it the same meaning or both are different?
Different categories. Mayavadis believe, see, Mayavadi is a big term. Now, in that, there are different kinds. So, Nirvisheshwadis, they say ultimately it's all Nirvishesh, means no form, Nirakar. Now, there is a Buddhist also, they say ultimately it's void, nothing.
So then we say Shunyavadi.
Shunyavadi, yeah, that is Shunyavadi. So this all comes under Mayavadi.
All right. Okay.
So there are different subsets under a bigger set.
Understood. Yes, Prabhuji, understood. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. All have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.